We're going to talk VAR. Saying Drive yesterday afternoon, the news emerged that Wolves have asked for VAR to be scrapped. They're going to have a Premier League vote on it. The feeling is they've invested too much time, money and energy into making it work. It's not working particularly well in the Premier League, but the chance of it being scrapped are pretty low, although they must have got some clubs on board to even feel like they've got a head of steam up. Maybe Forest, for example. Where is it working well? Are other countries up in arms? And it's at a time when other countries are rolling out VAR across their leagues even more. Dale Johnson, the man we often turn to on this subject from ESPN, joins us. Good afternoon, Dale.
Hello, Dale.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Yeah, good.
If you were taking, as a man who understands things, if you're having a punt on the vote now, Dale, do you think it'd be, pretty much unanimous that they stick with the system?
I think look at a few clubs that vote with it. I think, like you said, that Forest are quite likely to do so. They probably would have had Burnley. Burnley hadn't been relegated. But I just can't see any of the teams that are playing in European football or challenging to play in European football on a regular basis wanting to break away from the rest of the clubs that are at the top table of European football and try and peel away from VAR. I just don't see them voting for it. And I know a couple of clubs outside that Big Six elite have also indicated that they won't be voting in favour of the resolution. But I think what resolution will do is it will start a conversation which needs to happen in terms of where VAR stands in the Premier League. What do we want VAR to be in the Premier League? Because we're 5 seasons in now, and I think it's fair to say that hardly anything has changed. What lessons have we learned? What does the Premier League want it to be? And even if Wolves aren't going to be successful in the resolution, maybe that conversation will help push things on.
When you look at what Wolves have said, their bullet points and some of the reasons what it's done to the game, it's very, very hard to disagree with the sort of basic tenure of what they're saying, isn't it? I mean, it kind of feel that, it is killing aspects of the game. It is killing that immediate joy. It is doing all of that. I mean, maybe a better system wouldn't do all of that. But as I say, broadly, I found myself having a little bit of sympathy with what they had to say.
I don't think anyone can disagree, because the real issue is when VAR was dreamt up 10 years ago and brought in 2017, 2018, firstly, nothing has changed since then. So all you've got is the frustrations that fans have had from that very start. And there's just been a snowball effect of that frustration that's grown and grown and grown, where nothing's changed. They're still sat in stadiums, not hearing anything. They're still not understanding what's going on. And so that has just built over time. And this isn't defending the Premier League or PGMOL in any way on this. But the IFAB and FIFA have got a lot to answer for the way that they've not allowed any league to try anything. I mean, this next year coming up, we're going to get referees announcing decisions. Well, I mean, that's a step forward. But why couldn't that have happened 5 years ago? Why is it happening now? And that obviously doesn't go far enough. But the leagues are only able to do what FIFA and the IFAB let them do. And maybe, like you say, a different system. Leagues have wanted to trial different systems, which may be better than what we have now, where absolutely any goal could be disallowed for any reason. But unfortunately, they think that this protocol they come up with is the one that is for football, and it's the one that they want to stick with.
Before Wolves created this dossier, was there any talk of any changes at all? Is this Wolves forcing their hand a bit?
I don't think so. I think the problem is the Premier League, and what you've got to remember is the Premier League control the way this works. It's their decision in terms of how VAR is implemented. PGMOL are essentially the service provider for refereeing and VAR, but the Premier League still say that we want VAR done like this. We want our games to be refereed like this. The Premier League's been so scared of losing the product that it has, this fast-paced game with few interruptions, where it's a full fast-paced action. And they were really scared about VAR affecting that they wanted to limit just how much interference it had, which is why in the very first year in English football, the monitor was there but never used, because the Premier League didn't want the refs delaying the game by running over and looking at something on a TV screen. Now, the problem is that just hasn't really worked. And we're in a system whereby, as you see the stats, the 29 logged errors that there's been, 24 of them are because the referee the VAR hasn't changed the referee's decision. So something isn't right in terms of the way the Premier League implements it. The bar is too high. Maybe Wolves will have this discussion to get these decisions fixed. But one of the problems Wolves have in this is that what really lit the touch paper for them was the goal they had disallowed against West Ham in injury time, which would have given them an equaliser. Now, that is still going to be disallowed because it was a never how much we hate it, and because it took away such emotion, but it was a correct decision. So we're not going to lose. Nothing we can do is going to change from a referee sitting in the VAR room and applying the law, even if it's an injury time goal that is so dramatic and so full of emotion.
Reading your piece today, you say that the Championship is a bit of an outlier in second tiers in top European football because all the other leagues have it in their second tiers. Obviously, it's the EFL's call if they want to do it, and you sense at the moment if they were going to vote, they would say no. Maybe that's partly down to the expense of it. But that would suggest that around Europe, they think VAR works pretty well if they're prepared to roll it out to their second tier. So what are they getting right that we're not in the Premier League, and why are we not adopting some of those ideas?
I just think that one of the overarching issues is that there's a very different attitude to it and a very different way that the game is covered in terms of media. Let's take Spain, for instance. Blanket coverage for that league is Real Madrid and Barcelona. When something happens with VAR involving those teams, it'll be plastered everywhere. If it involves one of the lesser teams, then you probably won't see hardly any of it. And that's sort of where the Premier League is very different in terms of it's more of a rounded coverage. And so when something happens with your Wolves or with your Burnleys, it gets reported and it seems to make more noise, if you want. So I think in English football, there is always a controversy, which you will not get so loud in other leagues. And other leagues have lots of problems. I mean, let's take Ligue 1 in France. Last year, in January, they lodged a complaint and they wanted VAR to be cancelled there too. And the French league threw that out and promptly voted to bring it in for the second division in the same meeting. But I mean, there's complaints and there's protests in all leagues. But I think just in this country, there seems to be a really high level of discourse about every single decision that goes on involving every single club.
Anthony Gordon inadvertently has come out with a brilliant marketing slogan, which I think will be on mugs and T-shirts. After he didn't get a pen last night against Manchester United when he had his Achilles raked, he said, get rid or get better.
Oh, that's great. That's really
brilliant.
Good.
Snappy, isn't it?
Yeah,
you could sit round in a whole marketing team in a room for months. Okay, we need something snappy. And in a moment of emotion.
Amazing. He needs to patent that straight away. He needs that on T-shirts.
Yeah, get rid or we could say it about players. You could say it about anything. It's fantastic. So, I mean, they're not going to get rid. That is pretty
I think
clear.
they should do the voting, Dale, in Eurovision style.
Really?
So now we go to Ipswich Town now.
Right.
And they've got their voting.
Well, you make an interesting
VAR
point.
or not?
I know you're being facetious, Charlie, but you make an interesting point. So the clubs that will be voting on this, will they be the clubs that have come up? Because obviously Leicester, we don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but Leicester have experienced VAR and got the best and worst of it. But Ipswich haven't. And, I can't remember the FA Cup games they've been in off the top of my head, but they haven't. So I wonder if they get a vote and the way they might vote. Maybe they fancy a bit of VAR, maybe they don't.
Yeah, it will be these promoted clubs. And funnily enough, it was only last week that Daniel Farke, the Leeds manager, had a big complaint about refereeing decisions. And he said that if we had VAR, we'd have been promoted automatically. So maybe that tells you the vote that Leeds will have, even though they've obviously experienced VAR themselves for a couple of seasons. But yeah, it is interesting. Ipswich will be totally, really, the way they want no experience either way. But like I said, Leicester were definitely badly affected by it when they were in the Premier League. But it's going to be an interesting vote. Yeah. I think they'll obviously get a few votes to scrap it. But I just think, also you've got to remember that they've just only a month ago they've only just voted in semi-automated offside, and they've just signed a new contract with a technology provider. And all the finance that's gone into that, and the installing it into stadiums and the testing that goes with it. And you can't get rid of VAR and keep semi-automated offside because it's part of VAR. And obviously there are many aspects to offside apart from just position. You can have the subjective one. So I just think it would be very strange if you've got a group of 20 clubs that unanimously vote for semi-automated offside, and then 4 weeks later there's a motion to cancel it altogether.
Yeah,
it just doesn't seem like it fits together with what they voted for.
Now, it will be very interesting when we look at the numbers. Hopefully they will release the clubs that didn't want it and the numbers they get.
Yeah.
But, Dale, for now, good to talk to you. We'll catch up with you soon. I'm sure we're bound to be back on Monday railing over some decision that probably wins the title for somebody or doesn't. So thanks, Dale.
Good to speak to you guys.
Dale Johnson from ESPN, Mr. VAR.
He's not going to vote for it to go, is he?
Is it?
Turkey voting for Christmas.
I mean, we can ask the listeners, what do you make of it all? You've had a chance to sort of digest it now. Maybe we should have a talkSPORT listeners vote.
Why not?
Let's go to a text vote, shall we?
Why not? That's what a good idea. Or Twitter or text.
Let's put it in the style of Anthony Gordon says, get rid or get better. So get better.
Oh, very nice.
So we're going to give you two options. We're going to set up a Twitter poll at TSH&J, TSHANDJ. Your two options are get rid or get better, which is effectively keep it and improve
Very
it.
nice.
So in the Anthony Gordon envelope, get rid or get better. We'll have it set up in the next 10 minutes or so. Our boffins are on the case. And you can go and vote. We'll remind you of that later on. We'll have the answers just before drive at 4. Yeah, things like, the bar has been set high for decision-making. That's just nonsense.
Yeah.
Just as a get-out. Clear and obvious. That's nonsense.
I think
Do away
fans
with all of that.
will all say get rid. I think all,
You think they will?
all fans will say get rid.
But you are giving them a get better. You're saying, OK, I think the core of it is the kernel of a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just being badly run, like Dale was saying there.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.